all start? I know you've been in the industry, I'm talking to friends and stuff, they're like, oh, Alex has been around for a long, long time. But I want to go before ODYS was a thing. Obviously, you were selling PBNs, domains. You've always been a domainer for many, many years. But why, or what was the thought process? Why a marketplace at this, because it's only started in recent years, right?
Yeah, we actually gone live in the company that owns the marketplace was registered in 2017, so it's not that long ago. The marketplace, the first version went live in 2019.
Yep.
To be honest, I got tired of selling domains through a spreadsheet. And I thought there has to be something to it that's more than an actual collection of names in a spreadsheet. I wanted to leave something behind.
Yep.
So I thought let's build a great company. Let's build a marketplace where people won't just, harass me at 3 a.m. in the morning. If they want to buy a domain, they can just go log in and buy their domain. That's it.
Yeah.
So that was the school of thought, and that's what we got done, basically.
Yeah. So 2019, first version went live. I think we done our first agreement 2020 when COVID
just
hit.
one year later. Yeah.
So obviously you've progressed over the years, things are happening, but what else are you adding to? Because obviously people out there, if you don't know, if you're sitting around with a whole bunch of old domains, you can put them on your marketplace and list it to, because obviously you've got a great audience now, a big list, you've spent a lot of money sponsoring events and all the different stuff. So what else are you adding? Just for the people who don't know and just think that's all they do is just age domains, what else can we get on there?
So recently we've launched the Sell Your Domains initiative. So if you have a bunch of domains that you're just sitting there and they cost you money because you have to pay renewal fees, now you can, make money. You basically can sell them. So, and you can sell them for a hefty amount. And why is that? Well, the format of the marketplace was meant to increase the perception of value of a domain. Because when you have a domain, if it's the best domain in the world with 5,000 referring domains, it's just an entry in a spreadsheet. It doesn't say much about it. You change the perception of value for a domain when you put it in an actual landing page, when you create a logo that can, somehow signal what you can do with the domain, when you write growth strategies for the domain, when you show, the backlink profile, the highest authority link, and how much you would have spent to get them via a Haro service, for instance.
Yeah.
So when you have all that, the perception of value just goes crazy. So that's one thing. You can list your domains for sale. And now, as part of our market segmentation strategy, we plan to go into multiple other services. We recently launched hosting, and not because we plan on competing with GoDaddy or HostGator, just because sometimes people just trust us. They don't want to be bothered dealing with other companies. So if they want to launch 5 websites, why not host it with us?
Yeah.
And then we plan to expand into done-for-you affiliate websites, topic cluster. And we've recently even went into mentoring, so we'll be doing one-on-one mentoring. So if you need a mentor, you plan to launch a website, you need a mentor to handhold you, throughout the first year, you can do that with us as well.
I think it's a good idea, especially for people who are buying that and it's maybe their first time and they just want someone to bounce a few ideas off. Should I do this? What else could I do? So I think it's a great thing that you're adding to the community. Because we're always trying to encourage people, do your own thing, get the side hustle going, do affiliate or whatever. So I think it's a great thing. Obviously, today you're here in York speaking at Affiliate Gathering, out promoting, but obviously you as the owner of ODYS also doing the speaking, all that kind of stuff. I want to talk a bit about the team, the scaling and all that kind of stuff, because we all have had stories to tell over that. So when you started out, 2017, what was the setup like? What was the staff like compared to what it is now?
Yeah, so things have progressed then regressed because, you plan for things and then life happens, and sometimes, life just doesn't give a damn of what plans are. It just, it goes through it. So initially I have the team. So the main team was in India, and it was a great team. I personally trained them. And one thing that I'm really, really proud of, and that I managed to, all of them still stick with the company. I didn't fire anyone, nor anyone left. And I think that speaks of how we actually managed to build the company. So it's a great team. I believe it's one of the few teams that really understand the pros and cons and the ins and outs of age domains and what to look for specifically in age domains. So the initial setup, and these guys have been with me since early 2014, way before we had a marketplace.
Yeah.
Even in those times where it was all word of mouth, and I'd get introduction, Alex, can you help me get this domain, that domain, do you have any domains, can you get me more domains, here's 10 grand, I need 100 domains. So all these big deals that were happening behind the curtain, but it was extremely exhausting for me, even for the team. So we said, like, we need a product, we need a marketplace, so let's bring it up. So that was the initial setup. Then the company was incorporated in Estonia, so I decided, for bunch of reasons. So I had a small office there, the accountants, the legal stuff. Then I ended up partnering with the guy that we scaled a big Amazon affiliate website project, and we ended up selling a bunch of those sites, and then he joined us as the head of domain acquisition because he knew the ins and outs of domain. So I entrusted him the domain investing part.
Yeah.
And he's now based in Vienna in Austria, so he's handling that part. And I ended up moving to Romania for a period. I married a Romanian woman, so I've been living there. So Romania is bordering Moldova, so I thought, why not open an office there? Eastern Europe, lots of talent. Ended up creating a fancy office, hired a bunch of people, didn't really work out. So now we're kind of becoming smaller again, but expanding into direction. The first one, the partnerships, which work really great. And the second one is we want to scale the marketplace, both the technology and the inventory.
So going back to India first and foremost, you've obviously got a team there. Is that just VAs, remote workers, or do you physically have an office where all these guys go?
No, it's all remote. It's all remote. Like the office thing, like I've been working all my life, doing online stuff, and at some point I really wanted an office to go to, and it doesn't make people happy.
Yeah.
So instead of paying them a full-time wage, a salary, you treat it as like tasks or daily responsibility that simply need to get done and that get paid on that. Now they have full-time salaries because they've been, for such a long period of time with the company. But back in the day, it was like, well, you get that domain index, you get paid $5. So it started with that, and they got to know the ins and outs. Nowadays, whenever we have to get a domain index to check a few things, I don't even know how they do it, but they already have the systems in place.
Yeah.
I just fully trust them on this one.
So all of your kind of people, even in, you said, Moldova, a lot of these people are remote workers.
No, I'm transitioning to remote now. We tested this office thing.
You had the office.
Yeah,
and
it
just
didn't work out. Yeah.
What was the reasons that the office didn't work out? In your experience, of course, people say, no, offices do work. We can get people and motivate them and all this stuff. But what was your kind of thought process of why the office didn't work?
Yeah, so I think the office it progresses into this agency mindset where your goal is to actually deliver something for the sake of delivering, not actually getting results. And the problem with that is that we're a product company, so we have to actually sell in order to finance, paying salaries and just, growing, right? And it didn't really work out. Just like with you hire an agency to grow your website and to rank it, most likely they won't be able to do that. They will just take your money away. And this is what happened with the exact same format. So people just get lazy, and not because they're bad people, this is their nature. So instead, I want to move to, a format where I have like a core team, no more than 10, 15 people around me handling different parts of the business, and everything else is just individual contractors who, they get paid based on their performance, and they know exactly what to do and what's in it for them. So I think that will work best, to avoid any of the lazy stuff. I'm not in, I want to take a day off, I'm not ready. The business needs you here and there.
I think a lot of people listening will have had the people coming up with different excuses and whatnot, which is a killer. But obviously managing remote staff is a task in itself. Any tips for people who do want to scale, hire a few people? How do you, because you've kept guys for 10 years nearly, your Indian people, how do you keep them motivated? Because they're now on salaries, they're not performance-based. How do you work them up into keeping going? Yeah,
so first of all, it's tough. It's not an easy job. But there are three main things. The first one is strong leadership. You really need to be a strong leader, otherwise they won't follow you. And there are some tough times in the business, so you need to provide this, strong leadership attitude for them to follow along. The second thing is set goals. Like, you have to give them goals and let them do it. And third thing would be create systems that avoid pitfalls. But the concept is no single point of failure. For instance, we had someone that would be in charge of, let's say, domain ownership transfer, right? And there were days when we had sales, and he planned a trip, so he was not there. So I said, well, can you find a buddy? Can you find someone that would replace you? So there is no single point of failure when you're there. And they created their own systems, which allowed me to basically be there, provide the service, scale, deliver the domain, whatever it takes, and I don't really care where they are, what they're doing. They can just, let the system take care of itself. So strong leadership, set goals, and create systems with no single point of failure. And that has helped tremendously.
Any other tips in terms of the platforms? Because I know in the past people have used Trello, Notion.
Yep.
What sort of system are you using to interact, or delegating tasks out? Is there a system you recommend?
So for the first team, which is in India, I gave them complete autonomy over this. So I say, you figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
And more importantly, even with hiring, like, I haven't kept control over that. So you find the people that you need, to get the job done. So they've been doing I trained them, like a handful of people, and then they trained everyone else. Mm-hmm. So I simply gave them the real, figure things out. Like, let me know if you need any help, but figure things out. And they did. And they hired, their neighbor, their brother, everyone they thought they can trust. Yeah. And they built great systems themselves.
I think that's half of the reason where I've went wrong in a lot of businesses is I always tried to have too much hands-on control. And certainly, you're the complete opposite. You've just given someone the opportunity to do it. So maybe that's the right way.
So I went full contrarian on this one. And I told them, I'm not going to micromanage you. You have to figure things out. And this is what I did with the other teams when I got so involved that I got lazy.
Yeah.
And it was bad for the business, and we ended up departing, basically.
Yeah, it's not good. So going back, you've scaled up the office. You're tweaking things. You're going back to remote workers, but also over the years you've had different sites, different platforms, web developers, trying to better yourself. I want to talk a little bit about that as well, because obviously a lot of that takes time, effort. There's technology. What platforms do you use? There's problems trying to get developers to do work. I think everyone out there will say, I've got this developer. How do you overcome that? Where do you find good developers? You're obviously, you've got people in Eastern Europe, I'm sure you're probably using India. Where is the best place to find these good developers?
So what worked really well for us in the beginning was actually hiring agencies. I said that can be a problem, but if done right, through recommendation, we had James Dooley recommend Rick Hope, I believe, who owns Tatuo from Manchester, and they did a great job. Actually, Nicola did, she came up with the first ODYS brand and the design, and the design for the second version of the marketplace, and that worked really well. It was a one-time job. I paid a lot of money, but they got it done. So, and also the first developer, he was an independent contractor, so there is some kind of skin in the game for them. It was not hourly based. It's more all right, here's the goal, here's what I need to get done, how much? All right, I'll pay you that, but it has to be delivered. This is the the due date. You have to deliver that on the due date. And then we try to scale by hiring our own staff, thinking that, well, if outsourced agencies did such a great job, what if I take someone with actual skin and soul in the game, who cares for the company, who works full-time? Well, it didn't work that well, because, they get lazy. Yeah. So that's the truth, that some of them might be hearing this, but I won't shy away. So people get lazy, and that's a big problem for the business, because the only thing they care about is their own interest. Yeah. And it's my business. Like an entrepreneur, I do think about those risks when hiring someone, because that's their career, they feed their families. But at the end of the day, what worked really well is setting up goals and tasks and paying for those. Yeah. So I can give a developer a task, I need this system created so it solves this problem. How much? And they say, well, 1 month. Well, how much? $5,000. All right, I'll give you that. And now I pay them half and the other half when it's done. And
Yeah.
it's in their interest to deliver. Whereas if it's a monthly wage, they can be late, like 3 months late with a feature, and I still have to pay the wages. So it doesn't really work out. And the last format which we did is exactly that. So 1 week later, we still don't have the new platform up and running, but things are progressing and you have to pay the bill, so to speak. So, building things, like finding developers and businesses has always been a huge challenge, but I believe that's one of the reasons why we got an advantage over the competitors, because they haven't been investing in that.
Well, I know many of the competition are still using spreadsheets and whatnot, so, and I think we had a conversation with other people out there. You're handed a spreadsheet with thousands of domains and you're like, fuck, this is not easy. Obviously, your platform is very simple, very easy. You can see how old the domain is, top links, so it makes the job as a buyer, as a customer, a lot easier. So we're always grateful for that, but not so grateful for the problems. But I think it's a great suggestion to maybe encourage the developers to do the job quicker by keeping half of the money. So a nice tip there, knowledge bomb, guys. But out with that, promoting a marketplace, what sort of things have worked well for you? Again, I know we've spoken away from this podcast about it, but for anyone else who's listening to this who has a marketplace or a tool or whatever it might be, what sort of things worked and also what didn't work? Because I know you're a guy that literally has tried, I'm not going to say a scattergun approach, but you've tried a wide range of different things. You can't have had success with them all. So what things were working well for you?
Well, the agency things in terms of like create banners, advertise, post on Facebook, that's just nice to have. That doesn't work. What really moves the needle in this business, and it's very specific to the business, because the SEO domains thing and domain and niche sites and everything that revolves around, is community driven. So you have to actually go and understand what makes the community tick and kind of understand. So if you try to show them an ad, well, they might click on it, they might not, they may interact, they may sign up, but this doesn't mean anything. So what works really well is networking, partnerships, sponsoring events, getting yourself out there. Obviously, I haven't been out there up until now, but I mean, we've been out there through you, for instance. So we've been partners for almost 2 years, and that works really, really well. And the problem with that is that people are afraid of being exposed because they might not deliver, they may not have the best product, they may not have the best intent, they may not have the, let's say, so in other words, you have to expose yourself, because that has two parts which kind of go into one. The first one, by exposing yourself, now there is no going back. You have to deliver, you have to build a great product. You have to tell them that they're not losing money by investing whatever you have to say. And you kind of you become more accountable and responsible for what you're building as a business. And the other side of it is that obviously they will like you. You've been speaking a lot at events, the exposure you get, and that wins really, you get to win really big with that approach. So we've been trying to be out there through our partners. Now I'm most likely going to be, a little bit more proactive myself, but we're still investing a lot in our partners, and that has worked out really well. I believe people are just, I'd say, greedy when it comes to partners, and they keep most of the money for the business, which is not a bad thing, but what you have to understand that you cannot grow alone. You need influential people, you need people who know what they're talking about, to promote you, to introduce you to other people. So that has worked really well for us.
Partnerships. I know you've probably done Facebook ads, stuff like that. Is that a great way to get exposure as well? Do you still do things like that, or not at all?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Throughout your recommendation, the conversions rate were way higher than anything we've managed to do through our, paid advertising, like Google ads, Facebook. We did everything, Spotify ads, like we've tested literally everything, like Quora ads, Reddit ads. We did everything, like forum ads, like word of mouth, marketing and recommendation, and these introduction, they just work on a completely different level. So, for instance, we were spending 10 grand, €10,000 a month on just Facebook ads up until recently, and Google ads, and we gave up on that. I really feel like things may have decreased a little bit in terms of the number of access requests you get, but it's not detrimental to the business. And I can easily compensate that by doing this podcast with you. I can easily compensate that by asking you, can you introduce me to that guy?
Yeah.
But I can easily compensate that through means that are both enjoyable for me, being a part of the community, and also by, just growing my network.
Yeah. I mean, I can't agree anymore. People have said to me over the years, you travel too much, you do this, you do that. But it's sometimes not what you know, it's who you know in this industry. And I can't speak highly enough about getting yourself out there and getting the exposure that's available. But sometimes I think we were a good match personally because of my audience seem to like this type of thing. Obviously, I've had other sponsors who have maybe not had the same level of conversion. So I think you need to be very, very careful on who you choose to partner with. What sort of, when you're looking for partners, I know you've partnered with, Diggity, myself, and various other people. And do you care? Are you doing deep research, going, this is definitely a right fit, or were you just going, we'll just try this?
We're just testing, because you never know. We leave a certain amount of space for randomness. And it works out really well, because the way, from an accounting point of view, so there are two types of accounting. The cost accounting, which is say, well, I paid Craig this, how much did I get out of Craig, for instance? And the second one is called throughput accounting. And with throughput, you look at what you get from the entire thing. So let's say we have partners as a project. And we spend like $500,000 a year on partners. Now, I don't care if you make me money or not, as long as you make me some money. If the overall partners program is profitable, bring me positive ROI, then I'm going to move forward with it. So that throughput type of accounting has really changed the mindset a little bit, and we just started to test things. And I'm not saying we're not losing money sometimes, but you have to test. You never know unless you test.
Well, I've lost, I don't know, millions of pounds probably over the years through buying the wrong websites, just trying shit out, blowing stuff up. So I think testing things out, and you never know. Sometimes you get very surprised by certain events you go to that you didn't think would be all that, or the audience is not great, and then you're like, geez, I made a lot of good connections there, or I made a lot of money there. So I think you've got to have randomness. I didn't know if you were going to be super laser targeted like Matt Diggity. His audience definitely buy age domains and affiliate and all that because of his, what he does. So I wasn't sure if you thought about it too much, or you just went, nah, try this.
We're just testing. We're just testing and see what works. And if it doesn't work at all, then we're going to have a talk and let's see if there are any other way to change the format to make it work. Like if no one has ideas, then we'd say, well, sorry. If there are ideas, we're definitely going to go after it. And if it works really well, we're going to think, how can we improve? So it's basically testing and a little bit of randomness to spice things up.
Also, a question I get a lot from newer companies, SaaS tools and all that. Should I sponsor at events? I know you've sponsored a lot of events, NamesCon, and all of these different events, and I know you still do. How did that go? Was that great? A great overall experience? Is that a good thing to be doing, or not? Or
yeah, it is. It plays in the exact same. So it's part of the partners project. So for us, podcasts, any relationship building events, that plays
part of that.
That's all part of that. So sometimes, is it a good event? Are there some great speakers? So sometimes there have been events that we've sponsored. There have been events that wouldn't have started without our sponsorship. So even we're here for the affiliate gathering, we were the first ones to sponsor them last year. So they got started with that. Now the second year Ezoic is sponsoring them. Then we have SEO Underground, right? And we were the first ones to sponsor them as well. I'm not sure if they managed to, because we try to, just diversify sometimes. So one we might sponsor the next year, we just take a break, maybe they get traction with more audience. But there are, I believe in the SEO Mastery Summit with Mads, we were the first ones to actually, pay the bill and sponsor the main thing. So I believe sometimes we just, it's like investing in startups. So we sponsored a few events that ended up, growing. Now Mad's event in Saigon in Vietnam got really big as far as I know. I haven't been there. One of my guys been there, but apparently it was worthwhile. So maybe next year we can become like the biggest sponsor.
Yeah.
But it's worthwhile. It's one of the best means to grow a brand. Much better than that. You cannot grow a brand through ads.
Yeah.
You just can retarget, get more traffic, but the branding itself is done through word of mouth, through people. Obviously you position yourself as an authority when you sponsor the actual event.
Yeah.
Like, there is this saying that, you position yourself as an authority.
Yeah.
When doing that, and there is no better way to do it.
No, I think I would agree with that. Again, I think a lot of people don't associate. They always look at the initial return on investment. So I sponsored an event. I'm not going to name the event because it's not fair to do that. I didn't make a single sale.
Yep.
At the event. But the brand awareness that I got from it
Yep.
was, overall, I think hugely beneficial to me. Do you look at it just the cost, or are you thinking of the bigger picture when you're investing this money in the partnerships? Obviously, some events you're going to get amazing exposure in terms of brand, but maybe not a lot of sales. Do you consider that as still a positive, or?
Yeah, absolutely. If I can get sales, that's awesome. But usually in this business, like for instance, domains are high ticket items.
Yeah.
So the average price of a domain in our marketplace is like $3,000.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're buying a phone case, whatever. So
Yeah.
you have to think about it. So it requires some advancement. So the first one is seeing a brand. All right, so now I can trust them. So all these people around me, they see the same brand, they trust it.
Yeah.
Next one is maybe signing up, applying for an account. That's one thing. Then hopping on a strategy call. So it pays out in time. Obviously, there are some events that might never pay off, but you don't know. You still have to go after them and test, how it works. But for me personally, the brand awareness is very, very important. There are some events that we sponsored, like the same NamesCon, but the problem with NamesCon is not because it's not a great event, is that the audience is slightly different. So you're dealing with traditional domainers.
Yeah.
And they don't care about if the domain has been hacked 5 years ago. We do. All they care about is the name.
Yeah.
So in which case they probably do not really fit as an audience for us, but
Yeah.
they're a great event still.
Yeah.
And for instance, we've been sponsoring all sorts of alternative investment newsletters, which do speak about domains and maybe some growing websites, but it's just a small portion of all the things that they speak about, because they can speak about everything from NFTs to investing in gold and website. Doesn't really work as well. It has to be focused on what you do.
No, interesting. So going forward, obviously you're expanding, growing the marketplace. You've got your mentors on there to help the people and everything else. What is there any other plans you can share with us that you're also looking to add that's maybe not there yet?
Yeah, so first thing first, we started as a shop. So actually all the domains that you initially seen in the marketplace a couple of years back or our own investments. So one of the main questions we used to get is this domain legitimate? And my answer would be why would I put my money in something that's not worth building on or selling like that? I ruin my reputation, I ruin your website, and no one wins, right? So that was a good answer, and to kind of tackle the objection. But initially, the main reason I even started a marketplace was to make it a marketplace, not a shop.
Yeah.
So we transitioned towards the sell your domain, which now connects buyers with sellers through the marketplace. And even right now, 80-90% of the inventory is still ours, but we are moving in the direction of a real marketplace. And now the new concept involves hand-picked domains, services like extra services, mentors, and most likely we'll be starting developing tools like SaaS, most likely. Two interesting ideas that I have, and I won't shy away just naming them because there is so much uncertainty in the market. Even if you share the best ideas, all right, try to get them done. The first one is a domain comparison tool, which I discovered that with Amazon, basically, they allow you to compare products. So we'll bring that to the marketplace where you see two great pets domains. Which one should I buy? Well, here's a table. You can quickly comparison everything up until price, and then you make up a decision. And the second one is a redirect tool that would allow you to basically scrape a website just like Screaming Frog does, and then try to match domains from our inventory with specific pages that you can redirect to. So
Yeah.
that can bring up, some additional value to the buyers.
Because I think that's the thing. When you've got a marketplace, you're going to get experienced people who probably know how to do that shit on their own, but you've also got those people who don't, are not as experienced, and that is going to massively help push them if you can join the dots for them. But just curious, you've got Azadine, who's a brand advocate, we'll call it that, of ODYS.
He's just a good friend, first of all.
Nice guy. I've met him a couple of times at different events. He does very, very well. I have spoken to him, I've seen his stuff, makes a lot of money. Why can someone like Azadine do this and a lot of guys out there buy domains? And because I know you were asking questions in there, who's done a redirect? What way did you do it? Why do you think it didn't work? Why can someone like Azadine take an age domain? He doesn't believe in buying links. He uses the power of that age domain, does an amazing aggressive content strategy and makes a lot of money. Why is everyone else not doing this?
Consistency.
Consistency.
He's very consistent. Like, he's a tough motherfucker. He just goes after the niche, and the goal is to win. I personally checked, like, he bought around 25 to 30 domains, age domains from our marketplace. No discounts, he got them for the full price. That's also important, by the way. If you ask for a bigger discount, you're not as committed to follow along and to actually get things done. So he bought them for the full price, and I've seen all sites perform. So he knows what he's doing. And besides that, he won't settle until he gets results from his website. And the first thing that you just have to get started. So many people are just procrastinating forever. Like, well, maybe next month, and it won't work. You have to go through it. You simply have to go for it. And he's one of the doers.
The doers. So just taking action, just getting shit done is the key. That I would agree. I see a lot of people, and I do consultancy for a lot of people, and that's the thing. You're just like, I just want to give you a fucking shake, fucking do some work. You're overthinking this, overthinking that. So it's nice to see Azadine do well, and you get a lot of guys out there going, how does this guy do so well? So thought I'd ask the question on here.
He's awesome.
But we do need to wrap up before everyone piles in this room, because it's coming up to 4 o'clock. But where else are you going to be speaking? You're obviously, I want to talk a little bit about the personal brand. You've used people like myself, Diggity and various others to promote ODYS. You're now coming out and doing this thing. Are you comfortable doing that? Because it's obviously not that easy going out and talking in front of an audience. How do you find it?
Well, actually, I was surprised today. So I did a workshop, and I thought, like, Craig will most likely be the only person there, and I'm going to end up answering Craig's question. Around 30 to 50 people showed up. That was pretty surprising. Another surprising thing was that quite a few of them bought age domains, and the other half actually had done things like they built sites, they redirected, they had issues. So failing quicker is one way to success. So I was impressed with that. And the second thing that so the fact that they showed up. And because last year we sponsored the main sponsors to make it happen, and this year the room was full, so that's a good thing. In terms of, yes, I'm enjoying it, and I'm actually a big fan of a community-driven business, and you have to surround yourself with awesome people and make it a community, right?
Cool. Alex, we have to wrap up. I've just been told to get out.
Yeah, we're going out.
But it was short. I'm sure we'll do another podcast where we can go into how to do these things properly, the redirects, the acquisition pages. We can maybe do another one on Zoom, or maybe do another one in Birmingham. We can go a bit more technical,
we can,
but it was good to finally expose Alex's face on the podcast rather than just that logo. So it has been a pleasure, mate, and hopefully we have a few beers tonight and have some fun. But guys, the link is below. Go check out ODYS. An approachable guy. Any questions you've got, just fire them over that way.
Cheers, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.